Hi guys, and welcome to the APAT show Sunday night, 10 p.m. of course, and we're glad to be back with you. Lee, we have a very special guest tonight, and he's doing well for a change.
It certainly is. It's friend of the show, Mr.
Friend
Peter
of the
Wigglesworth.
show.
We don't want to hang about because he's still in a tournament, Des. Quick, get his table up.
I've got his table up. He's there. We've done it. First time in about 104 episodes, we've actually managed to keep somebody in.
We've got a guest. We've got a guest who's in a tournament, and they're actually on the money bubble at the moment. So it's the PLO main event. Started at 8 o'clock tonight. $1,000 in the prize pool. There's 5 of them left. And Pete is one of them. He's also got Richard Robinson, Billy Johnson, Simon Manning, and Andy Lita in there as well. But he's chip leader, and and looking good. How's the tournament been so far, Pete?
I've been quite lucky, really, particularly on the Omaha. So I had a big hand against Willie Johnson, and he had trip 8, so I had aces. And I had a flush draw, and I decided to commit, and I got lucky and hit my card, really.
You need a little bit of luck with Omaha, though, don't you? So many drawing hands and stuff, yeah?
We had a few words, but he was cool about it. He's recovered really well, because he went down, I think he went down to about 10,000 chips, so he's recovered really, really well.
It wouldn't be a Sunday night if there weren't a few words had across a poker table at some point. That's for sure. Absolutely. So, Des, shall I quickly run through what we've got going on tonight? And then tell us. Do it. So it's the usual Sunday night. Now, obviously, we've got Pete on the show. Pete is currently top of the leaderboard ladders going into today. So 4 events today, but he's the sweat is on, to say the least. So the 5 o'clock Sunday deep stack that had $750 in it. Now, you might remember, Des, last week I mentioned a new up-and-coming youngster that I thought had a bit of game and might go quite far in the game of poker. Yeah. Well, 1 week later, and that young Brendan
Mr. Byrne,
he's only gone and won the deep stack at 5 o'clock.
No, really?
He picked up $245 for the win there. Wow. Jason Saville was second, and Tom Bacon was third in chips there, picking up just shy of $100. So that had 59 runners in that. That one's done and dusted. The main event tonight, 93 runners in that, $2,500 guarantee. We've smashed that, $2,835 in the prize pool. We're down to 7 already, so we're well into the money there. We're on a final table. Our Tony G. Yeah, there's another Tony G, but APAT's Tony G. Yeah, Anthony Giantini is currently going 3rd in chips at the moment. He's up against a couple of Argentinians, a Brazilian, a Belgian, a Slovakian, and a Greek player tonight. So a right mix on that final table. Sweet. We just mentioned the PLO. That is currently on the money bubble at the moment with 5 left. Top 4 being paid there. $450 up top though. So Pete is very much eyeing up that prize tonight, which will be a good end to the week for him. And of course, the Turbo Knockout started at 9 o'clock. We never worry about the guarantee in that. $500 guarantee, but it's hit $720 in that. It's down to 30 at the moment. It's paying top 11. Did you give that one a go, Pete, as well, or not?
Which one?
The Turbo. The Turbo.
I got my chips in with Ace 10, and the guy decided to call me off with King Jack.
Not
Jack high flop, so that was the end of my tournament.
But already mentioned before, Tom Bacon, who came 3rd in the deep stack, he's still going in there. Matty Ogilvy from Canada is also going. Now there's a Richard Baker.
Never heard of him.
Now we know Richard. This Richard Baker has got.
Doesn't he have the cricket?
This Richard Baker's got a Canadian flag. Get next to his name. He's been cashing a little bit lately in APAT events, so I'm assuming it's not the Richard Baker we all know. No, I'm only kidding.
Definitely the cricket. Definitely.
Yeah. So he's doing all right in that. So we're down to 28 in that, so we'll keep it up. But obviously, our focus at the moment with Pete on the show is this PLO and see what he can do. It's very close though. Chip stacks. You've got you and Simon currently sat with about 50 bigs each.
Yeah, I just doubled Richard Rudlin Smith up. We had a very similar. Well, he had a pair of jacks, Queen Jack, and I had the same hand, and he hit a flush, so I just doubled him up.
It's not Rudlin Smith. It's not Richard R. Is a different Richard R.
Oh, Richard R. Is it?
That's Richard Robinson. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I find this thing with the first name thing on Party really frustrating. I don't know why they don't make the initial, the first name, and at least for surname, you stand more chance of knowing who it is, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I think I'm on Party Poker now as Lee James W. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but it is what it is. If anyone else wants my mother's maiden name and my whatever as well, then they can. They're slowly getting enough information to try and pretend they're me online, but
Lee, we've got a certain famous Lithuanian in the chat box. Oh no, hold on. This is our Tony G. This isn't the. Hey Tony, good evening to you, sir. Doing well this evening. And Peter, you're of course talking to us from a submarine around 9 miles off of the coast of Brighton. You're about 300 feet off the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, as I understand.
He's doing a Dan Houston on us. Yeah, it's the little pings. It's the little pings on Party Poker.
I turned it right down.
Funny
it's charming.
Thing is,
it's charming.
When we had Dan on a couple of weeks ago, Des and I must have talked about submarines for about 20 minutes. And I don't think Dan actually realised what it is we were talking about. It was quite funny.
Fantastic.
To say the least. But,
Peter, it's lovely. Oh, sorry, Lee. Were you gonna?
No. I was just going to say. Obviously, Pete's top of the leaderboard ladders. I mean, what's your plan on a Sunday night when you're top of that table? Do you are you looking? Will you play everything, or will you still just play what you've got time for? Or
it depends, because with my job, I've opted out of Sundays, so I never work a Sunday. So Sundays are quite sacrosanct for me. So if, like you say, if I'm doing quite well, if I'm in contention, then yeah, I'll play all 4. But if I'm not in contention, then I'll probably not even play. I might play one of the tournaments. Obviously, I do like the Omaha, but yeah, I just sort of suss the situation out really and see where I am.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's all good.
Absolutely fair enough. Because so what we've got to do, Lee, is we've got to try and distract him, right? Now that we've got him on, we've got to try and distract him to ensure that he doesn't take us for all of the money tonight.
Oh no. We're good with Pete, because Pete, as I say, Pete's I'm sure he'd love to play a lot more, but I know he's balancing off a lot of things going on in life and poker and everything else in the past couple of months. Pete's on step 2 at the moment, so
that's good. He's a good winner.
I wouldn't begrudge him 3 tickets tonight at all.
Let's do it.
I worry about that Gordon MacArthur. He's working his way back at the steps.
He's an expensive date. Yeah. Gordon MacArthur. He's very expensive date, I'll have to say.
I fancy like I want to put Gordon MacArthur expensive date on a billboard, Des, but more about that in a few weeks' time. Yeah, that would actually be quite a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been donating Gordon some chips today, so I think I qualified for the main event via satellite, and I was up to about 80k, and then I lost a really, really big hand. Overplayed Ace Jack against Queens. It came a Jack High flop. Needless to say, I lost most of my chips. So I started the day on 29,000, and Gordon, I raised under the gun with Ace Jack, and Gordon re-raised me, and I just decided to gamble because I'm really looking for a spot to double up in that position, and he had Ace King, so I kindly donated my chips to Gordon.
There's worse places they could go, aren't there? Really?
He's not proud. He'll take them from anywhere, I can tell you that. Listen, it's lovely to have you on, Peter, because it's, while it's been a while, you're probably the person who's come onto the APAT show the most in the 2 years, and it's 2 seasons, right? This is episode 52 of season 2. I'm guessing the next one, Lee, we might call season 3.
I have a funny feeling we may well call that season.
How cool is that? So you have been probably on the most, Peter, and it's great to have had you on. Nice to see some normality coming back into poker, and picked up from Facebook, of course, that you've been traveling a little bit over the last few weeks, playing a bit of poker. Saw you down in London. What was it like to get back to the physical felt?
The first tournament I played was actually the Hippodrome in Leicester Piccadilly Circus, Leicester Square, and I didn't really want to play that because it's only a 30-minute clock. It's a 275 buy-in, and I don't particularly like the structure of that tournament because I looked through the structure, but there wasn't really much else. And with my sort of rota with my work, it was kind of the only thing I could fit in, and I just wanted to get out there and play a tournament.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good to get back out there and play. But then the GUKPT London was on, and I played that. I played the mini, and everything. It was funny because on the Sunday I think we played 7 Max, and it was the day before lockdown was released, Freedom Day.
It changed in the middle of that London, didn't it, as to what how many they could seat and what they could do, didn't it?
Yeah. The next day they took all the perspex down, all the plexiglass, and they were playing 9-handed rather than 7-handed, which I would have preferred.
So you played a 7-handed with plexiglass.
Yeah.
So how was that as an experience?
Well, as I say, I actually played at the Hippodrome like that, and I played at Portsmouth, a 30-30 in Portsmouth, so I was kind of quite used to it. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, I'd much prefer with it relaxed now. Obviously, I've been double vaccinated, so from my perspective, I'm not too concerned. And in my job as well, obviously, I'm meeting people every day, and nobody seems to be getting ill around my work, or customers or anybody. So that's a positive, really. So I'm quite confident going back to poker and playing live poker. And obviously, if I can get out to Vegas, I will be going out there. But it really is in the balance at the moment. I just keep looking at the news and finding out whether I'm going to be able to go.
So you still got that booked, haven't you? You're going early World Series, weren't you? That was the plan.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be going out on the 27th of September, and I'm booked for 3 weeks. So I managed to get 3 weeks off work, which is pretty difficult to get anyway. And then, hold on, I'm playing a hand here. I think I'm against Willie again.
Keep in mind, Peter, there are no delays tonight, right? We haven't got a delay on the stream. So, 30 seconds, whatever it may be, but it's pretty short.
Yeah, I know you let that one go. So that's good. Yeah, so I'm just really keeping an eye on the news all the time and just sort of seeing what's going on, and just hoping that I'm able to travel out there. And if I can't, then I think the week that I'm actually off, there's a Reading 30-30, and obviously other ones around the country. There's also Edinburgh UKPT.
Well, Grosvenor are just chucking tournaments out left, right, and centre at the moment, aren't they? And there is the demand there. I mean, the Manchester leg has just finished now. Rick Trigg picked up the win in that one. Amazing first prize. Yeah. I was watching the stream on that, and like you say, the prize and the numbers are just ridiculous, and that's what I've noticed going out there to play these tournaments. Everyone's just chomping at the bit to play poker. It's literally everybody's out there playing. It kind of makes me guess that I think with the numbers the way they are, and obviously Rob Young was talking a little while ago about Dusk Till Dawn and asking people what they would like to play and what would go. I don't think it'll be that long before we start hearing from the UK's premier card room in Nottingham as to what their plans are going to be, because I don't think Rob will leave it for too long, whilst there's clearly a huge demand to play and it's appearing reasonably safe at the moment. I
mean, one of his things when he did his video was his stipulation was that he didn't want the plexiglass up, and he didn't want people wearing masks, and he just wanted normality. He wanted a full ring table, and I can understand that, because from an organizer's point of view, if you have to pay dealers and you have to get more dealers in, you've got short-handed, it's more expensive, isn't it? So I spoke to Ryan, actually, the TD, and I sort of said, I was trying to sort of ask him what was going to happen, when things are going to happen, and he was obviously a bit cagey.
Hang on, Des, we're about to get a world exclusive here. Yeah, here we go.
No, this is quite a while ago, but one thing that he did say to me, which I think I'm okay to share this, was that if Rob does open Dusk Till Dawn, he'll give everyone a month's notice. And so if we haven't heard anything yet, it's it's going to be at least a month's time. And
to be fair, Pete, it's going to take him a month to redo that smoking area and give the place a clean. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's not going to happen overnight. Yeah, that's for sure. No. It's amazing how a place like that, even locked up or whatever for 18 months, how quickly it can deteriorate and need a. And I would imagine Rob will take the opportunity to go whilst the club is closed and not earning anything, to say, right, well, what would we want to do on the basis that their plan is to open, in which case then he can it can do it. Yeah. I wouldn't have spent a penny on the place until I knew we were definitely going to open up, because hey, there's been times in the last 18 months where you've had to question that, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the thing that, feedback again from Ryan was, I was asking him about, being furloughed and obviously the club being closed. And I think Rob's been amazing in that, he's paid everybody and kept all the staff on all through that time. Obviously the government's helped out as well, but any good businessman, you realise you can claim a lot of this stuff back against tax. So he's been true to his word with everybody. And he's kept everybody on. Obviously the dealers, have been able to go out now and get work as well, because I don't know whether he's paying every single dealer that they had contracted, but certainly the management are.
Well, I know that it's very difficult with dealers because a lot of them are self-employed or kind of casual workers. I know that there was a lot of fundraising that was going on for dealers, both in this country and in the US, actually, when the pandemic first hit, with kind of the community just trying to get behind and support those people that have been out of work. I mean, the difficulty is it's very similar to the hospitality industry in that the hospitality industry has lost a significant number of people in the last 18 months that have just gone, well, I can't wait for whether this is going to come back. I'm going to change what I do, and so it's quite tough from that. And I would imagine we'll see a similar thing with the poker industry, certainly for trying to find dealers for the really big events where you can be looking at these events which Dust or Dawn will put on, which might have 50, 100 tables maybe, because when they have their kind of their extension marquees either side. I mean, I would imagine it's got to be getting on for 100 tables in that card room when they're at absolute capacity. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I guess with Brexit, to a certain extent, not wishing to point too many fingers at that, but I certainly think that will have affected it, because a lot of the dealers are from overseas and will travel around to different events, and a lot of them have not been able to do that for the last 18 months and will have had to take a look at their what they're doing life wise. It'll be interesting to see how it comes back. I know the World Series are heavily advertising and recruiting for dealers for the autumn. They know what's coming. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you had any updates from Vegas at all, because last thing I heard was that people were traveling out there. I don't know whether you saw, I think Sam Razavi put a post on Facebook and he was asking if he was able to go out there and,
how
you
do it.
It's confusing is what it is. But first things first, the bubbles burst. Richard Robinson is just busting fifth. There's only, Pete, I'm not being funny, mate, but there's only 4 others on your table. So if you've not noticed that one of them's gone, then
no, I'm playing on my phone at the moment. It's really tiny, so I'm sort of
slightly worried. But yes, you are in the money. You've got a min cash for $120.
Well done, Pete.
But it jumps 170, 260, and then 450 up top. So that's what we want to go. It's an interesting one, Pete, as to what the rules are for Vegas. Obviously, I mean, if you'd have asked me, I mean, Des and I talk about this pretty much most weeks on the show. And 2 months ago, I was dead certain, we're going to be doing Vegas in the autumn. Really looking forward to it. I'm already planning it, but didn't want to book anything yet, but pretty much planning it. And gradually over time, that's deteriorated to the point now where you start looking things up and going, are we actually even allowed to go in, into America? And then you realize that actually, no, at the moment you're not. They basically wouldn't allow you in unless you go in via Mexico or Canada and effectively effectively quarantine for 2 weeks. And that hasn't changed yet. So although the British government are allowing Americans into the UK now without all the need for all of that, it's still not working. It's still not a two-way street at the moment.
No. Yeah, my nephew just came over. Actually, came to Bournemouth for a baptism, because they're Mormons, and they came over. And as you know, well, you probably know, my mum died last month, so they were hoping to come over, but they weren't able to come over because of restrictions. But he came over this weekend actually, and he went via Spain. So he flew to Spain and then came back over, but he didn't have any problems. He lives in New York, which is obviously, a hot spot for a lot of issues.
It's a funny one. I mean, Robbie that we do the orbit with, he's just gone from Israel over to New York for a week, and that didn't seem to be an issue. But Robbie's all got dual citizenship, so he's got a US passport as well. So I think that makes it a little bit easier from these type of things. So in the middle of a hand here, Pete. So I'm very wary that you're three-handed into this on a board of seven tray. But a nice little bet there takes it down for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I had pocket kings double suited. So
at this point, you'd have been happy to get it in there.
Well, I had to bet to find out whether somebody's got a 3 or a pair of 7s. So I thought I think kings were probably good there. I'm also playing a WPT opener, which is $22. It's a 2-day tournament.
Very nice.
I'm playing the wheel as well. It's like a daily tournament. How do
you find playing multi tables on your mobile?
It's a bit difficult when you get to my age. Yeah,
I struggle with just one table on a mobile device, to be honest. I must admit, I am still old school. Give me a laptop or desktop any day of the week, where you can stick all the tables up, see everything that's going on. I can't do all this. It flashes up and then it disappears, and then you wait for the next thing. And effectively, it's only showing you the table when you need to react. And I quite like to be able to. I think that's a control freak in me. I like to see everything that's going on and just keep an eye on it all.
No, I mean, the last APAT show I listened to was with David Lappin on. That was really, really interesting. And I, listening to how he started out in poker, how he's sponsored, but how he used to multi-table. And I mean, I really, really struggle, even with a couple of screens. I struggle to sort of keep control of 4 to 6 tables, and he's doing like 20 or 30, isn't he? So
yeah, he said he was doing 60 at one point, and we did the thing with him, and he was saying, I might be doing 15 tables that evening, but don't worry, that's totally fine. I can have a chat with you and do 15 tables. No, I don't think he was doing 15 on the night, because that's the way the cookie crumbled. But that's incredible volume, is it not?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just amazing that people can cope with that, because I certainly couldn't.
Crikey.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm playing high-low, I'm playing PLO, and I'm playing Hold'em. So it's a little bit confusing sometimes, but that's probably my limit, I think.
Yeah, my limit's 1. Believe me, it is. Listen, on the COVID front, Tony G, right? A little warning for us there. He said last month he's 53, he's double jabbed, and he managed to pick up the COVID. A month later, he's still sort of recovering from it. So it's not an absolute guarantee that you escape with the double jab. Of course, touch wood, you don't get very, very sick. That's the aim. And homeboy, just pleasant words. Lol. So how dare you think I would exchange unpleasantries? I'm not sure what that is referencing. I have to say, it's too focused on busting me. So is homeboy playing with you?
Who knows? Because we're still getting used to chat names, so it's difficult.
Well, I know Billy. It's unlikely to be Billy, I'd have thought. Simon. I don't know.
Might be, quite possibly. So I'm just looking at what else we got in the chat. So the second best player in Ilfracombe is in. Evening to you, Tony. Hope you are well. Tony, you are gonna love. Des mentioned we're this is episode 52 of season 2 of APAT, and we for whatever reason we decided 52 cards in the pack, so we'll change the season number when we get to episode 52. So the new season will start with in season 3 episode 1, and we're going to have some new opening credits. And
they look good. They look smashing.
And Ilfracombe will get a mention in the new opening credits.
It'll be up there in lights, as I said. Sorry, 52 cards in a pack. Is that what you think the 52 refers to? It's 52 weeks in a year, man. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I assumed it was 52 cards in the pack.
Me too, to be honest. I just because
now. Because we certainly got to 52 episodes way before 52 weeks.
Yeah, well, it's an APAT year. Which, to be honest, an APAT year this year is stretching about 20 months.
It's at the moment. Very flexible. So, Pete, unfortunately, we say goodbye to you there. Do you want to talk us through that exit?
I mean, I had ace, queen. I can't remember the other card I had, but I had a pair of queens, and it came ace, king, queen on the flop. I didn't put somebody on aces. or kings, which is what I was worried about. And but the only hand that I'm losing to is Jack 10, and I just what I wanted to do was try and isolate the short stack. So I isolate the short stack, and the bigger stack had Jack 10. So I needed to hit my card, and I didn't hit. So, but you know, you make decisions like that when you're already in the money. You make decisions like that. You have to sort of play.
I know exactly. That's the way you've got to look at it. Well,
Look,
you've managed
Lee,
to.
I've got a short visual summary of the hand if you want to see it. Shall I just play this? Here we go.
Yeah, if you could.
There we go. That was live from the stadium.
Yeah, that was pretty much, that felt like how it played out. I mean, that's what I reckon. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It wasn't my finest moment, but like I say, I am sort of playing on my phone, and it's
well. The important thing for you, Pete, is that's added you 48.22 points onto your leaderboard score, which is now putting you up to just over 207 points.
Yeah.
Closest person at the moment to you is Tony G, who's on 147. But I don't think Tony's playing
just exited the main in 5th.
Yeah, busting 5th in the main. So I don't think, and I've already included his points onto that for you. So yeah, I don't think. Actually, I tell a lie. It's not 48 points. It's 24. I put it in the wrong one, but you're still going to be top of the table, Pete. And I don't think anyone's going to catch you. To be perfectly honest, the only one that might would be Tom Bacon, who's still in the turbo, but he's 13th of 13. So a long shot, I would suggest, for him to do that. But we will see how that one pans out.
Yeah, the good news in the WPT one that I'm playing, I took another bounty out, so I've got $12.50 in bounties on that.
Lovely. So that's the first event of the new run, the new run of the WPT that's going on for the next couple of weeks, isn't it? So
yeah, I'm just playing the opener. It's only $22. Obviously, there's some bigger buy-ins, but I just fancied that. I played the £55 KO as well on the Dust Till Dawn one, but I got it in with King Jack against on a Queen 10 board. And Paul Allen had Ace Queen, and he called me for all his chips and hit another Queen. It double paired the board, it paired a 10 and paired the Queen. So that didn't go well either. It's not been an amazing night, but I had a really good run actually. On Friday, I won I finished second in the Six Max. I think I won it the week before, and I won the Omaha last night.
So Homeboy 2 is Billy. You just said it is Billy. And then Greg M is on. Greg says hi Peter in the chat.
Yeah.
Well, listen, once upon a time, Billy used to do a lot of updating with the GUKPT and stuff like that. I mean, let us know, Billy. Are you still doing that? We're really interested to hear, what's going on there if you are.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean, obviously, if I'm wrong, I'm going to soon find out.
Well,
this would have been going back a little while now.
Because I know that more recently, Davey Blacklaw's is on.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking. Do you know what? I think I'm thinking of Davey. Yeah, Billy. Look, Billy, if you could just be Davey for tonight and just tell us about your experiences updating for the GUKPT, and I'll just hold on, I'll just do this. Hey, if you dish it out, you've got to be able to take it, right?
It's quite right too. So we've Richard Baker from Canada is the bubble boy in the turbo knockout. So we're down to 13. Tom Bacon's still going in that. I don't think he's going to be able to get enough points to catch you, Pete, to be honest. But we'll keep an eye on that one as we go. We're down to 4 in the No Limit Hold'em main event, and as I say, we're watching the 3 remaining players in the PLO as well. So it's all. Have you found it a little bit quieter during the summer months, Pete, online, or is it not seen much?
Yeah, I think a few people kind of once people got back to playing live, I think definitely the volume reduced. Certainly I saw that on the APAT tournaments. Some of them. Like in the PLO, I was surprised that more people aren't playing that. There's only 4 people paid, so I know it's probably a little bit more expensive than a lot of people would be comfortable with. but obviously you've got satellites into that as well.
Yeah, you got plenty of satellites. I mean, we that PLO we never expected to get any more than sort of, you know, if you can get to 30 or 40 runners, it's a nice little Omaha tournament on a Sunday night that should be done within about 3 hours. That's the idea of it. It's and
of course it's summer. You know, the numbers drop off pretty dramatically in summer. People are out doing other things. It has to be said. But it's nice to see a schedule going through the week that is supported. You know, as long as we can keep people entertained, that's the main thing.
That's always the plan. That is for sure. That's the way it's going to be. So are you going to play? You're going to play GOKPT Coventry then?
That's the plan. I can't play the main event because I've taken most of my holiday for Vegas. So
it's just after the bank holiday, isn't it? In August. Yeah.
So I'm planning to play the mini, and I'm planning to play the Omaha and the seniors. So I'm going to go up there and get
the what? The seniors?
Yeah, over 50s.
They got a senior. What? Have they got one in each leg now?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
I think the only one they haven't is Edinburgh, because I think they're only allowing to play the main event. They're not doing any side events for that one. I think there's quite a few satellites.
I don't know why, but you know what just went through my head? That I'm going to hell. I really am. I seriously am going to. I just was expecting you to say the only way that place they haven't done seniors is in Edinburgh because the life expectancy in Scotland is significantly lower than it is here. I apologise.
I'll tell you one thing that I was kind of, obviously I'll be looking forward to when you guys, you know, start doing live tournaments as well. But I did see a tournament in Galway in January. I think there's going to be a new Irish poker tour. I don't know whether you've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'll definitely earmark that one to play.
Well, it is sort of feeling, Pete, isn't it, that people are looking closer to home, and I think ultimately that feels the way it's going to go. I'm not convinced the Vegas is going to see that many people from Europe heading over to Vegas this week. I think there's a reality now that people are going, do you know what? It's just, you know, they came out with that thing during the week of if you were in close proximity to somebody that tests positive, they can remove you from the tournament. And then they quickly backtracked on that and went, no, that isn't, you know, it feels at the moment that they don't quite know exactly what they want to do, and I think that's going to put a lot of people off from saying, well, committing to flights and hotels and everything else, and we'll just say, right, well, what's local. So if there's some good tournaments on in Ireland, or maybe even as far afield as maybe the likes of Malta. We spoke about Malta with David Lappin the other week. If one of the big Malta festivals, either Battle of Malta or the Malta Poker Festival decides to happen, that might be a trip worth making.
They've actually pulled the Battle of Malta because that was an option for me, because that's on at the same time as the World Series.
Is that gone now as well? Is it? Or have they pulled it? Have they pulled it because of COVID, or have they pulled it because it's going to clash with the World Series?
They pulled it because of COVID, because they're only because of restrictions. They're only allowed to have, I think, up to 6 players per table, and they've got restrictions on that. So they said regrettably that they're going to have to, you know, shelve it really.
Yeah. Okay. So, I feel like we've just, Des. I feel like we've just created some sort of Air Force One moment. You know the film. You know, when the president makes it back onto the other plane and they say, we're changing the call sign, whatever it is now, Air Force. It feels like Homeboy 2 is now Davy.
Thank you, Davy. Davy. It's Davy Johnston, everybody. Excellent. My favorite Irishman, I have to say, apart from Frank. Frank, of course, is number one.
Yeah, so it's going to be fascinating to see how it all pans out in the next months. But the excitement is when you talk to players. I was chatting to the Bromleys earlier on today. They were up in Manchester playing. They're booked up for Coventry, and they're staying down there for the week, and they're loving it. They said it's just great, and it's great to be back with everybody, listening to the guys on the stream, the likes of Tower and Jay, and everyone's just absolutely buzzing that they're hitting the numbers, and people can go back and play poker, and they're feeling safe and enjoying it. So
I saw Natalie, and I saw the live stream and saw Adam on the live stream I was watching.
Well, when you say you saw Adam on the live stream, you saw Adam on his phone on the live stream.
Yeah.
I watched for a while. He didn't play a single hand. I sent him a WhatsApp message and said, I tuned in to watch you, mate. What were you doing? Yeah,
you get permission from Natalie to play a hand, I think.
Because you weren't playing poker. I don't know what you were doing. So, but then he messaged me back half an hour later saying, "Well, you goaded me into playing poker, and I'm now on my second bullet." So yeah,
I'm out.
So I went, I'll be quiet now then. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, no. The one thing I would say, obviously, with me having a few outings, is basically. Oh, got a really sick hand here.
This is in the WPT, yeah?
Yeah, no.
What sort of numbers has this got? Here, I'll actually try and bring your lobby
I don't know, because I've just gone out.
Oh, have you?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had queens against fours, and it came 5-4-3. And this guy decided to get all his chips in, and he hit an ace. And then I just ran into aces, so I'm out of that now.
Crikey, so what time did that start?
It started at 7:30, I think. So yeah, but yeah, the one thing I would say is, of all the tournaments, I'm a big advocate of the 25-25. I've managed to win 3 of those.
Why have they gone to a 30-30, Pete? Do you know anything about that?
I think what it is I think they're just trying to make it more viable from the organisers' point of view, because it's now gone up to £400. I'm not sure. Is it 340 or 360? It's probably 360 with 40. So they're taking a little bit. That's
pricing a lot of people. When you think those 25-25s used to be, were they 200s?
Yeah, they were 225.
I mean that's a huge leap, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't got a mix of the two, because before they used to have the deep stacks, which were 130, and then the bigger one was obviously the 25-25, which was 225. And then if you wanted to play bigger, they've increased the buy-ins as well for the GUKPT, because the GUKPT used to be 550 and 1,090, I think it was, and they've increased both of those. One's 750 for the smaller one, and I think the other one's 1150. So without trying to be greedy, I think Grosvenor have just kind of tweaked the figures around a little bit just to make it more viable. And I think that's the reason they've gone up to the 30-30. But it's a little bit disappointing that they're not doing something, just below that, either, a deep stack or something that you could play for, say, 150 or 160.
Davey's just got a double up in the PLO, so he's still going strong. He actually says in the chat, Pete, he said he might maybe see you in Galway then if you decide to make that trip.
No, I definitely I'm looking at that, because
that'd be nice. I was just looking at your exit in the WPT. So you bust in 73rd in the end out of 360 runners, picked up $20 in bounties. So pretty much, it's pretty much a break-even tournament for you in the end. And a deep run. Just not the
pivotal hand. Well, it's a 2-day tournament, so I was obviously looking to get into day 2. But the pivotal hand was the queens against fours. So I've raised quite big pre-flop, and it's come 5-3-2. And the guys obviously, put it in on a draw, because he can't.
Actually, Pete, just looking, it's crikey. This is a bit of it's not much in there, is there? Because it stops when it gets to 54 runners. It only started at 8:05, so I don't know what you were doing at 7:30, but it was 8:05. You were doing your warm up at that point. Probably. So it stops when it gets to 54 runners tonight, and it's actually on 66 at the moment. So
it wasn't far off.
It's only going to run for about 3 hours tonight. I don't quite know why that needs to be Is it? I presume to be multiple day ones, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
There's another flight tonight, I think, at 11 o'clock.
Okay, that explains why it's.
So there'll be multiple flights. There'll probably be a turbo tomorrow.
Seemed a bit crazy otherwise for it to, but so it's a $200,000 guarantee in that.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, but the 30. They didn't really market the 30-30 very well either, because my understanding was that it was a 30,000 guarantee with 30,000 chips, and I assumed it was a 30-minute clock, because a lot of their deep stacks were 30 minutes, but it's actually 40-minute clock. So having played Portsmouth, the structure is exactly the same as a 25-25, but obviously it's just a little bit more expensive. But if any APAT members can satellite into those, I know it's probably beyond a few people's bankrolls, but they're definitely really, really good tournaments. And if you look at the prize pools that they've generated, like you said, I think everybody's just come out of the woodwork and started playing the tournaments. They're just dying to play live, and the numbers just ridiculous.
Yeah, which is interesting because I did see some online threads when they first announced the 30-30 series, and they were getting a lot of negativity. There was a lot of people sort of saying, why have you put the price up? And we're not going to do this. We're not going to play. But actually, the people have turned up in droves.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to remember, before lockdown, Grosvenor went through a process where they culled a lot of their poker staff and their in-house dealers, and a lot of the regular tournaments, weekly, or daily, evening tournaments around the country were moving to self-deal. I guess in a way, this has been a nice opportunity for a bit of a reset. I mean, I've been talking for a long, long time now about poker players need a bit of a reality check of quite what it costs to put these tournaments on. And it's easy to say, oh, well, they make it back at the bar and in the casino games and everything. But actually, a lot of the businesses will look at their poker as a standalone product. It's filling a chunk of their casino space, in their venues, and they need to find a way to make it work. And the reality of it is that it's only that reg fee is your cost. The rest is going into a prize pool that you could win a chunk of. So you've got to look at it like that and say, right, well, the reg fee is effectively what I'm paying for my entertainment. The rest of it is an investment, or it's a gamble on whether I can actually cash in that tournament. Yes, it's a big outlay, and you have to take it all into account but don't be fooled into thinking that you're paying all of this to the casino. A fair chunk of it is being paid back out to the players.
Yeah, I mean, you guys must have first-hand experience of this, organising the APAT tours and tournaments, all around Europe and even in America, Las Vegas. So you've got first-hand experience, and what it's like. I remember there was one time you were looking at during the WCAO OAP.
Feels about right. Feels about right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the seniors one.
Yeah.
But you were looking at Coventry, and I think you were struggling for the quality of dealers and stuff like that who actually knew how to deal, Omaha and X Games, Raz, and things like that.
The World Champs is always a tough one because you want the variance in. But also when you're talking to venues, it's a case of you're finding this balance, because we've always been, when Des first set APAT up, I mean, it was sponsored to the point where there was no reg fee. There was, you didn't pay a reg fee. You got to play the tournament, and he'd be out the back cooking you all a free buffet. Yeah, he'd be preparing you all a free buffet and all this kind of thing. And the reality of it is that for venues now, it's not really possible. I remember when we were out in Vienna, the chats that we had with the casino out there. Unfortunately, that casino's closed down now, which is just a sign of the times, I guess.
Which one did you play at? Was it the Concord or the?
The Concord at Veen Simmering, and Jonathan out there, the poker manager out there, amazing guy. And we sat down in the chats we'd have with him about it's trying to make the numbers work. For these venues, that's the tough thing to do. Because we all know.
Games.
Yeah, we all know poker players, expect the moon on a stick.
Yeah, they do.
It's a crazy. It's interesting when you talk about structures, Pete. How much does the quality of a structure affect what you'll choose to play or where you'll target to play a live tournament? Is it often about making sure you're getting value, bang for your buck for the poker that you can play, or will it be down to the type of field that's going to be there and whether you think you can turn a profit on it?
Yeah,
that's the balance.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both, really. I mean, when we had the interview with Graham, Graham taught me to play longer tournaments, and so ideally one day I'm going to play the WSOP main event, which is a 2-hour clock, and it's a ridiculous clock. But yeah, most of the Grosvenor 40-minute clocks are pretty decent, and that 25-25 is brilliant. And the GUKPT main events, they're really good. But if you cut that down to 30 minutes, it makes a massive difference. And this is what I was saying about the 30-30. At least you get 30,000 chips, whereas with the 25-25, obviously you're getting 25. So it gives it a little bit more play, and they've actually kept the structure very similar. I made it to level 6 in Portsmouth, and I was really comfortable. Even with a short stack, I was confident I could build my chips back up and do okay. Whereas the Hippodrome one that I played, I didn't really feel the structure in that was as good. It was a 30-minute clock, and I just didn't feel it was more suited to the player. It was more suited to the casino and the revenue that they were trying to generate, really. So yeah, it's a big thing for me. And if you go to the Venetian, really well that at the Venetian they'll give you like a sheet with the structure, and it'll show you literally, and you can find most of the structures online anyway. So it'll say, what the blinds are at a certain time, what the levels, if it's a 20-minute clock, say for instance, what the next blind level is going to be, because sometimes they'll cut out certain blind levels as well.
Well, I think it's an important education thing, Pete, especially to new players coming in to the game. The focus is so often on, is there a guarantee? Yeah. Then the next one is, well, what's the starting stack?
Yeah.
And the two questions that they pay less attention to, the next one is then always, well, what's the clock? But very rarely do they then look at the actual levels themselves. And you're kind of missing that piece of the jigsaw when you're trying to make a decision on what tournament to play, because you can have a tournament that has got a low starting stack, but actually it's such a shallow structure that it's a really great tournament to play.
Yeah.
And it's educating players to understand that it isn't all about guarantees.
Yeah.
If you want to play good quality poker where you're actually getting to play poker, and it's not just a game. Not every player wants that. A lot of players are quite content to go in and splash their chips around, and if they get lucky, great. If they don't, fine, they've had some fun and whatever. But if you really want to improve your game, then it's finding those right tournaments where you can actually work at the skills as you're playing through the game.
Yeah, I mean, coming back from lockdown, I'm watching the way that people are playing, and the people that have done well. Obviously, Rick Trigg won this recent one, and Yanis Liparis was third, and James Clark came second, didn't he?
It's like it's just the regular names, isn't it? That
they are. But the point I'm trying to get across is, if you look at Terry Jordan, for instance, that guy, has got a massive bankroll. When he played, he won the high roller, but he had 2 bullets in that, and he regularly has like 6 or 7 bullets in the GUKPT main events, and he plays in a certain fashion. And so it's interesting in poker terms that, everybody's got a different style. Des says it quite often, when he's interviewing people, he sort of says, what's your style? Is it like a feel, or you're an aggressive player? And Terry's the kind of, Terry Jordan's the kind of player who always puts pressure on people, and he'll always keep raising, and he'll play probably 80, his VPIP has to be about 85%. And I was chatting to a guy today about it, because he had 1.4 million with, I think there was 21 players left, and he had 1.4 million, didn't he?
Yeah. He was one of the chip leaders.
So
3 tables out. Yeah.
If you're a sensible player, I'm not saying Terry isn't a sensible player, because he plays the style that he plays, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but he could, just sit on that, let the car crashes happen, let a few people go out, and then just wait for big hands, and then he can go back to his normal style. So you can change gears, and you can play poker in spurts rather than
talking about changing gears. Simon Manning has absolutely gone through the gears now, and has got a 10-1 chip lead here on Willie Davy Johnston.
Willie Davy, please.
Billy Willie Davy Johnston. Yeah.
Well, I played against Simon yesterday in the other Omaha, the knockout PLO yesterday, and he was chip leader, and I literally just scraped into the money, and was ninth out of 10.
Hang on, disconnected here. Des. Yeah, I'm wondering whether that's what's happened. Yeah.
There's no way he's allowed, you know, Simon to take the last 10, 15 hands.
No, I would imagine
he's all in
something
here with queens.
I think so. Yeah. Pete's story about yesterday's PLOs is the thinnest of thin brags, though.
Thin brag.
So Simon ended up finishing 5th yesterday. Where did you finish, Pete?
I won it.
Hey, we'll take that.
There we go.
There we go. Hold on.
The funny thing is, I was heads up with Gordon Goodall. He's a local at Dusk Till Dawn, so we had a bit of a laugh and a giggle and just sort of wished each other luck and stuff. And so I didn't really mind, but obviously when you win a KO tournament, you keep your own bounty, and that makes a massive difference. I think
final heads up is a huge. Yeah. It's always a huge one. Yeah, it's always. Huge. Yeah, it definitely looks like Billy's unfortunately.
He's disconnected, isn't he?
It looks like he's disconnected, which is a real unfortunate situation.
But yeah, what I was saying about Simon, the reason I wasn't trying to brag about what I did yesterday, but Simon was actually chip leader, and he entered literally every hand, and he was raising, which is what you should do when you've got a big stack. But sometimes you've got to be able to just pull away and let the other people clash as well. The smaller stacks clash.
So that's finished that off. It's an unfortunate way to end that in that tournament. We've seen it once or twice over the last 18 months. Simon Manning picks up the win for $455. Billy will have to settle for a second place, $260 cash there. Just one of those things, and we're down to a final table in the turbo. Des, if you want to bring that one up. Tom Bacon is on that final table.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive from Willie's point of view, because he was literally down to about 10,000 chips. So to finish second, he's done really well.
Yeah, no, it's a good run. It just shows you can. Certainly we see it with Omaha much more, Pete. That you even when you're down, you're really down to 2-3 big blinds or even less. There's no panic. Just still pick your hands to play, because there's no antes. So just got to pick the right tournaments to play, isn't it? So
yeah. I mean, as I say, coming back to playing live poker, I've really been focusing. My next tournament's on Thursday at Luton 30-30. So I'm kind of gearing myself up, and I got really, really unlucky in Portsmouth. I got a double up early on against an old guy who was retired, and they called him Kamikaze. he was literally a lunatic, because I raised, he limped, and I raised with ace king. I'll tell you this hand because it is quite funny. And then it came back to the original raiser, because I three bet, but I literally just min clicked it. So the original raiser just flatted, because I've known him for quite a long time. Kamikaze decides to 4-bet me. So I'm thinking, right, okay.
How old do you say this guy was?
He must have been about 75.
Oh, Des, if you get to your mid-70s and your nickname is Kamikaze, you've
happy days. I'm taking that. I'll bite your hand off for that now.
Yeah. So basically, the flop came down, and I think it came Queen Jack X, Rain. Oh no, there's two of a suit on there. So he bet out. First guy checked. He bet out. I flat called him. The other guy called. The turn card came a 10. So I've made the nuts. I've made the Broadway. So he bet like 6,000. We started with 30k. He bet 6,000 into a pot of about 5,000. So he's overbet the pot. And I just thought, I'm going to go for bust it, go for broke. So I just shipped it. The other guy folded, and he's sitting there and he's going, oh, I think I'm going to gamble. I'm going to call you. And he called me with 10-9. So he's
wow.
He's basically drawing dead. And I thought he must have a flush draw, or he must have a set at the very, very worst. So I got a full double up to about 60,000. And then I just had, after that was in the first level. And then I had 3 hands, which were just the sickest hands in poker. You just couldn't believe. I flopped. So I had Queen Jack offsuit. The flops come down, Ace King 10. The razors checked. I've bet. The turn card came a 5, which I'm thinking that hasn't changed things. I've still got the nuts. So he checked, and I bet the pot size, well, about 3/4 pot size bet. So he flat called me. The river card came an ace. So it's now paired the board. So I'm thinking, well, his range could be, ace king, ace 10 here. I certainly didn't put him on ace 5, which is what he had. So he checked, and I know the player really, really well. So I looked at him and I thought, something's not right here. So I checked behind. So I could have lost a lot of chips there, but I lost about 5,000 chips. And he turned over ace 5.
Do you know what? I love when we get you on the show, Pete, because I am genuinely in awe at your ability to recall
every hand. Yeah.
Because if I'd have played a tournament this afternoon, I couldn't tell you about anything that I played this afternoon. And bear in mind, you play can play a reasonable volume online.
Yeah.
You say you just have an amazing ability to not just remember the hand, but actually remember the detail of the story and the positioning and the bet sizing and the stack sizing. It's phenomenal to listen to, because I say I genuinely couldn't tell you even some big hands in my poker playing
at Wembley.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't talk you through my winning hand at Dusk Till Dawn. Now I'd have to go back on YouTube and watch it. I genuinely couldn't tell you.
Well, there's a brag in there somewhere.
No, there isn't. I won with King Queen. I think it was King Queen.
Yeah,
and I think I was flipping, and I think I hit. So he must have had a pair of something, but that's about all I can. I mean, the one I do know is my exit hand at Wembley.
I was going to say, you must remember that.
The pain,
I do. Yeah. No, I do remember that, because it was a horrible thing, and the reason I remember it is actually because Devilfish called his hand. So it was against Nick Hicks, and I had a pair of kings, and I couldn't tell you all of the betting, but basically a king hit on the river, and that made his straight, and he kind of checked to me, and I looked as well. I've got 3 kings now. I didn't even contemplate properly what he would have had or what he was in with or whatever. And the minute he called, I just heard Devilfish he was about 2 or 3 to my left, call his hand, which was what would have been Queen Jack or something like that. Because I think there was an ace on the flop, which had kind of made me a bit nervous, and it was this slow motion thing of, oh shit, yes. And I bust in. It was about some time. It was like we were down to 2 tables. So, and obviously that was the one which had the million up top, and which they ended up chopping in the final table. But yeah, there's certain things where you do remember, but I'll say most of the time I just wouldn't have a clue remembering.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of poker, particularly for me, is. Oh, right. Is this the main event? Is that? I can't see it now.
No, it's the turbo. So the main event's finished. So Ken Claessens from Belgium picked up the win in the main event, picking up $745. Fernando Rodriguez from Argentina in second for $480, and Franco Pereira from Argentina in third. Actually, Diego Tamashiro from Brazil was in fourth. Actually, so proper South American field to the final 4 in that. Stu Ward, Fat Cat Stu, is in says he's tuned in to hear the Wigglesworth Bad Beat show.
I'm trying to keep that to a minimum, because at the end of the day, as I say, when you play a hand, if you've played it badly or you've made a mistake, then you have to learn from that and you have to move on to the next tournament.
Well, you mentioned about when we had David Lappin on. That was one of my real takeaways from listening to David talking about. It's the constant learning and being prepared to look at yourself and go, right, what was I doing there? And the detail that he goes into.
The other thing that we've intimated here, and I think this is really interesting, is the whole poker story, right? And Peter, you obviously have an amazing recall of your hands over time, and poker players generally do, which is very, very impressive. But there's a whole lot of poker bloggers and vloggers and all of that good stuff who are out there today, and they've got cameras at tables, and they're giving really detailed breakdowns of tournaments, which are both fun to watch but also educational. You're learning from them. And Lee and I had one of them on the Orbit last week, a guy called Jamie Burton, and this was a poker vlogger special, right? So Jonathan Little was on there as well. Jeff Gross, the Party Poker guy, was on there. But Jamin is a classic vlogger. He does something really interesting. If you ever check out the Drawing Dead on YouTube, it's definitely worth a watch.
Right.
But
if you've not come across him before, Pete,
he's really good, really
Yeah.
entertaining. But Jamin told us about his plans for Vegas, right? So obviously thinking World Series of Poker in sort of late September through to the middle of November, and this is what he had to say. So this is coming from the Orbit last week.
This one's going to be an interesting one because much like Jonathan, before every other World Series, I lived in away. I didn't live in Vegas. I lived in St. Louis. So coming to Vegas for the World Series was, you got to book plane tickets, you got to book hotel rooms, you got to have a schedule. I'm going to be out there for 10 days. I had to squeeze in all my playing and all my vlogging in such a short time period and enough to enjoy myself while playing, but still having enough content that I could edit when I get back home. Now I live here. So now it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm actually not worried, but I'm wondering if my Vegas vlogs, which are always my favorite over the World Series, will kind of have a different cadence because it's just like, I'll just go home. Whereas, after a losing session, I'll just go home. Whereas before, I knew I was going to only be out here for 7 to 10 days. And it was like, I got to squeeze in session after session after session after session. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how that all sets up. I had been banding about in my mind over creating a really long form vlog for this World Series. So instead of creating a bunch of 15, 20-minute vlogs, maybe creating like an hour-and-a-half movie that just covered my whole series. But I'm still kind of thinking about it. It'd be a different challenge. It'd definitely be a different challenge. It'd be an editing nightmare. But we'll see how it goes. So right now I'm just playing it by ear, hoping some of the COVID stuff gets all cleared up. And everybody can have a good time.
There you go, guys. A 1.5 hour movie. That would be
I would say,
super
Pete,
interesting.
yeah. If you've not seen any of his stuff, go and check out his stuff on YouTube, and you will see why when he says that would be an editing nightmare, you'll see what it is. His stuff is so creative.
Which number is that? Which number Orbit?
It's incredible. That's the most recent one.
13.
If you go and check
13.
him, if you go and check him out on YouTube, his channel and his Vegas blogs he does. He plays a lot of cash in Vegas, similar to Andrew Nemi as well, and a few of the others out there that do that kind of thing. But what he's doing with his production of it, it's kind of very kind of comic book cartoon type thing, and drops other stuff in, and and little cartoon characters of himself and other players, and fascinating stuff.
Well,
really,
he sounds a great orator anyway. He sounds quite interesting.
He's got a great voice, has he not? He's got a great voice. Came across very, very well. Love his stuff. Now, talking about Vegas and plans, of course, everybody's scratching their heads. What are their plans? Lee and I also we did a seat wide open last week, the previous week. I don't think I showed this clip on the APAT show last week, so I'll show it now. It'll be fairly brief. This is with our own Brandon Shallas. Right, so top guy. He's planning a big schedule for Vegas. We'll briefly mention that after the clip.
Well, actually, Brandon, because Brandon Shields, he was he played up in Manchester at the GKPT, went deep.
Did he?
I think got into the money today. So he was on the final day.
Well, he was super impressive on his show.
Aces
Against Jacks.
Yeah,
sweet. You're gonna like your aces there. Unlucky Tom
Bacon.
Yeah,
and unlucky Tom.
Anyway, this is Brandon Shields.
Oh, that's a nice flop, not too bad.
Oh, sweet. Here we go, Lee.
With a check.
So you got two players in the hand here. So
you check mine very quickly, which is normally like I'm done with it. He's probably playing more than one table.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have almost certainly the best hand right now. I guess he could have like a 3-4 suited or a set sometimes, but this is oh wow. That's very unusual for someone to bet 2 times the pot here into 2 players. That's it's very rare to be a bluff, I would say, but obviously it doesn't matter because he could have like ace-2 or 5-2. Like I can still have the best hand even if he's never bluffing, so it's not a decision yet. But it's quite interesting to see that. especially when we both check the flop, because we both look like we're kind of weaker.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have ace queen, so I'm just going to go broke with this hand.
And of course, the ace on the rip. So now, you're now looking at a situation with basically, unless he's got ace queen, you're in a in a good spot.
Yeah, and I think it's a spot where I might as well just go all in, because if he's got a full house, he's not going to fold. If he's just going to click call if he's got a full house, and I'm going to have the best hand most of the time. If he has ace queen, I'm always going broke. But he should three flop with ace queen. And if he has like a straight, at least we just go for the max. And maybe there's some hands I might want to bluff with sometimes, I guess, or at least maybe he might think that I am. Whether I'm actually bluffing this spot or not, I don't know. But it's so out of the box because he bet 2 times part into 2 players on the turn. So.
And he was playing out the big blind, wasn't he? So. Yeah,
like he might have 3-4 suited sometimes. That's quite a credible hand. I want to bet 2 times the pot on the turn though.
Well, on the basis that he hasn't snap called, he obviously hasn't got ace queen. So.
Yeah, slow rolling me. Maybe 3-4.
Oh, he's got the call.
Who's nice. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we were
Boom.
Wow,
Again.
that's what you get.
You gotta love the booms. But that was a great show, right? Very educational. Brandon talking through his hands. And
I don't know whether you've caught any of those, Pete. Yeah, or whether you've seen any of these seat wide open that we've been doing. So we get a pro player in, and they play 100 minutes of cash.
All right.
And we get them on a leaderboard depending on how they've done in cash and a few other bits and pieces during the show. But it's so insightful. You know, because they're playing because they want to score well on the leaderboard. Just first of all, this isn't just I'll just do it now. A couple of hours for fun. They want to impress and score well. But the chat through how they play the game and what they choose to do. So Brandon was the 3rd person we've had on the show. So we had Dara Kearney was the first first person on, and then second we had Jesse Sylvia, who was the runner-up in the World Series event back in 2012. Some serious guys. It's for a couple of hours of watch. It is such an insight into how to play cash hands, which work in tournament as well, but fascinating to watch.
Yeah. No, I'll have to look at that as well. You give me loads of stuff to watch now.
Oh, well.
Do you know the funny thing is, that wasn't even my favorite show that Des and I did this week.
Yeah.
I do have a clip of the football one, Lee.
You
don't want me to play that.
I was going to say, because I said he won't have a clip of my most favorite show with Des this week.
So you're not in this, Lee. This was a first half clip, but we'll play it just to give people a flavour of what the heck it is. I'm still not sure, but here we go. So I have to say, very, very impressed with United this morning. 5-1 win over Leeds. Of course, great rivals, Leeds and Man United. And there was some crowd trouble in Manchester before the game as Chelsea take the lead against Crystal Palace. And boom, we love that graphic. That's good news for us. That's our first bet has come in. So let's give ourselves a little pat on the back there. So this is obviously watching a match day, right? 3 p.m. on a Saturday. We have a betting challenge. We put £100 into play, and we're largely betting on next goals in matches using data and analysis and what have you. And we blog it or vlog it live for the 2-hour session that those games are on for. And it's quite novel because, anything can happen when you're having a betting session. Lee joined me for the second half, and I think it worked really well. So we might very well roll this out and change this slightly for next Saturday.
It's really
fun
because you're in play, and so you're focusing on the games, and you're looking for who's applying pressure but not yet scored, and how the dynamic of the game is as to where you want to put your bets. And we're not talking huge odds here. We're talking about this is a little and often betting challenge. So you were 10 bets in the end on yesterday.
I think
and you ended up with the pool going from 100 to 110, I think it was.
Yeah, it
so it was a profitable. So it was 10% up on the day. So that's fine. So we'll go again next Saturday and see where it leads to. But it's but just a huge amount of fun. I normally, Pete, I don't know about you, but I'm normally on a Saturday afternoon. You're probably working on a Saturday afternoon because
I'm working on Saturday.
But normally between 3 and 5, I'm sat doing something maybe, but watching the football results, and I'm either watching, on Sky or BT or whatever, or so that's what I'd be doing anyway. So to be honest, sat on the stream chatting about it with Des was actually great fun. Yeah, it was
really well, I had a busman's holiday this afternoon. Actually, I went into Paddy Power and had a bet on Newcastle against West Ham.
Oh,
and I had they had a special push 4-1 for both teams to score in the first half, and the game had already started, and I literally put the bet on in play, and Newcastle scored. So it's like, yay! And then obviously West Ham scored, and they went to VAR, didn't they? And ruled the goal was good. But then I had another bet as well, which was Newcastle to be winning the first half, and then West Ham to win the second half.
Oh,
so half time, full time. So I got
nice.
21 on that.
What was, out of curiosity, so football season's back, the fans are all back in the stadium. What's it like at work? Is there a real buzz with everything back? Is it different to when last season? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting actually, because when we came back from lockdown, we really struggled. I work in quite a busy shop. We're a grade 4 shop. We graded from like 1 to 5. So I work in a grade 4 shop. I actually got promotion this week as well, which is good.
Congratulations.
So, deputy manager.
So they now just have you sweeping up the betting slips.
Yeah, exactly. I've been promoted to chief cleaner. Chief cleaner and team maker.
Do you have a job you can give me, please? I'll do that.
Right? No, I was going to say, it is quite interesting because when people came back, and all the horse racing came back, we kind of had Ascot and we had some big races, but obviously the spectators weren't allowed in. So it kind of felt a little bit surreal. And also we had the Euros, which was obviously great. But even when the football came back last season, it wasn't, it was behind closed doors. It just had, it kind of had a surreal feel to it. But now, this weekend was absolutely mental. It was so busy in our shop this Saturday, and so many people were putting bets on. And we thought that maybe, people were betting online more and maybe they weren't coming into the shop. But like I say, this weekend was just phenomenal. It was probably one of our busiest days.
That's good to hear. Listen, a few accumulators will have been busted by Spurs' surprising win over Man City in Tottenham this afternoon. I mean, that was quite a shock, Lee. What did you make of it?
Well, I had it on in the background because I was doing some other bits and pieces this afternoon. But I mean, City just didn't seem at the races. They really didn't. No focal point to their attacks. They've got, this is where they're set up at the moment with no Aguero and obviously no Kane coming into the side at the moment. They're left in this situation where they've got a lot of attacking midfielders that are quite fluid in the way they move around, but nobody quite seems to know exactly what they're doing. And if anything, Grealish coming into the side didn't really help. It wasn't at all. So it was a bizarre one, really. Maybe a good time to be playing City early on in the season whilst they're trying to get themselves reorganized. But I mean, you can't fault Spurs. I mean, obviously we're assuming that Kane is going to move to City. I mean, it just feels like it's everything that's gone on in the last few weeks has been lined up for the deals. The deal's already done, but so the deal's already been done. Tottenham are already spending the money before they've got the money, so they don't get overinflated prices. He comes back late from the Euros for whatever reason, which conveniently means he's not available for the first game of the season. So he doesn't have to play City, which will be his new club, and the deal will now just go through. And he doesn't have to face the Spurs fans in that. It all feels like it's just this is the ideal scenario, and it will go through and happen. That will make City a ridiculously strong side with him in the team, because that is that focal point then. And then I think he'll play differently for City, because unlike at Spurs where he tends to drop deep quite a lot. He may do that at City, but I get a feeling he's pretty much going to be. He can just be there banging the goals in.
Can I just say something there? I mean, I watched the game, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, Lee. Because Man City to me felt like a team of individuals. It didn't feel like a cohesive team that were working together. Whereas Tottenham, credit to the new manager, he seemed to have them working as a team. They caught, they made some really good breaks, and they're catching them on the break, and had quite a few chances before they scored anyway. And the one thing I think this season is, obviously I'm a Leeds fan, as you know, so that result yesterday was awful, and the only thing I can say is obviously Calvin Phillips wasn't playing, so I'm hoping that they'll be better. But I would say that Man United are looking a real threat, and it's going to be I'm really excited about this season, because obviously Liverpool, you've got Van Dijk back. They're playing well. They played really well yesterday. Chelsea are looking really, really good as well. So that's another team. So you got and Man United. So I think it is going to be really, really competitive. And Arsenal losing to Brentford, that was awful.
I think weirdly, it'll be more competitive, but I actually believe we are going back to a big four. So for a long, long time, the Premier League was a kind of a top two, maybe the occasional third, but it was never really more than a 2-horse race with whichever two teams it was in this. A big six plus Leicester. And I do feel now you look at the squads of both Manchester clubs, of Liverpool and of Chelsea, and they just look way ahead of anything else in the league. And I think City and Chelsea, even more from a squad depth point of view, I think they are a step ahead of both United and Liverpool. It's not to say that I think all four teams' first 11s, there's probably not a huge amount between them. I would argue Liverpool's is potentially, the strongest in them all. Although Lukaku coming in for Chelsea, I think is a huge signing for them. And if City get Kane, that takes them to another level. Again, I don't think we're going to sign anybody else. To be fair, it took us that long to get Varane across the line. Bear in mind, we announced it like 6 weeks ago. I don't quite know what took so long. It's apparently they were spending 6 weeks of trying to convince Phil Jones to give up the number 4 shirt, and he wasn't prepared to budge on that one. So Varane's having to wear number 19 for the time being. I think they were genuinely hoping that someone was going to take Phil Jones on anywhere, to be honest, but it wasn't to be. So he's adamant he was going to wear the same shirt number, and even though he's not played for United for nearly 2 years.
Couldn't they have sent him to Derby on a free to help Wayne out?
I'm amazed somebody's not just said we'll take him on a free and give him play some football. Goodness me,
they couldn't even beat the Posh, could they, the other day?
No.
I mean, Phil Jones for United is a weird one. Came into the club and he was talking about as being the next that, and he's just had some rotten injury luck. Absolute rotten injury luck, and it's never going to change for him at United now. So you've got to make a decision. Okay, I'm on a decent contract, and we renewed his contract for some reason. But surely you want to be playing some football. I mean, surely at his age, you want to be playing some football. Now, if it's a case that actually he's not fit enough to get a season in the Premier League, well, drop down and play in the Championship and play some foottle.
Go to Europe, experience, the world.
He's had a good enough contract from United for the last nearly 10 years. He's been paid very well. So surely at some point you want to go, well, actually, I don't just want to sit there not playing football, but being paid. Surely you've got something within you that says, I want to just go and prove to everyone that I can actually play and put a 20, 25, 30 game season together.
Yeah,
surely there is, but maybe not. Maybe that's not his view. I mean, take a look at Gareth Bale, who seemed to has the attitude at Real Madrid, although he started in the game last night. Did you see they took the number 11 jersey away from him? So he's worn number 11 for Real Madrid since he signed for them.
Wow.
They took the number 11 off him and gave it to Asensio. Is it Asensio? Yeah. So he's now wearing like the number 19 or something, yet he started last night for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And he earns, whatever he's on or whatever. It's his last year of his contract. He will see that contract out. You may not see him play football again.
No.
What do you think? Genuinely, you might not.
What do you think about PSG? Their wage bill must be enormous, wasn't it?
But they can afford it.
Well, they can, but I mean, the French league isn't, League One isn't.
But it's a bizarre one, isn't it? They own that. The owners of that club don't. They can't have gone into that club thinking, "Great, we want to win the French league every year."
Yeah,
that'll be great. That'll be a nice trophy on the to have in the cabinet. They've bought that club to win the Champions League.
Yeah,
and to dominate Europe, and it's not happened for them yet.
yeah.
And to the point where last season they couldn't even win their own league with the squad that they've got. But it seems that financial fair play doesn't seem to be an issue anymore.
I think for PSG, it's not about the strikers that they now have, Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. It's the investment in a dramatically successful trophy career of their new manager, Poch. Poch is obviously going to be the secret to unlocking Europe.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
It will be interesting to see what happens. So, I mean, the Liga is an interesting one. The Spanish league is going to be fascinating this year because it's the Spanish league that have put in these restrictions on the clubs regarding salaries. It's that's Messi going. Barcelona beautifully managed to spin into, well, Messi doesn't want to leave and he's crying about it, and we don't want him to go. We've offered him a contract and we're only paying him half of what we used to pay him, but basically the rules still say we're not allowed to. So basically the league it's the league's fault that they've now lost the best player in the world from playing in their league. So it's beautifully been spun. But ultimately, if they're the rules they've put in, because Barcelona and Real Madrid are both in horrendous amounts of debt. I mean, United have got debt. They've always got debt because the Glazers use debt to buy the club in the first place. However, they've never had an issue in funding that debt, and ultimately, they're a profitable club year on year. I mean, the reason United have been able to spend what they've been able to spend for the last 20 odd, 30 odd years, and everyone says, oh, well, it's no different now. Well, it is different in that the likes of Chelsea and Man City have got a very, very rich owner that can just pile money into the club. The likes of Liverpool and United have always been able to spend because they've internally been able to generate those funds. The Glazers wouldn't put a dime into United.
In fact, it's quite the opposite. The Glazers are taking a small fortune out of United in dividends every year.
Taking dividends every year. So the fact is, it is slightly different, but at the same time, you can't begrudge a Man City fan or a Chelsea fan if they've got a rich owner that's prepared to do it. I was amazed that the deal for Newcastle didn't go through. Yeah, as we're seeing Ace 4 against Ace Queen, I think that's going to be it used to be a 6. Oh, there it is. Oh. There it is. I'll keep calling them. I'll keep calling them. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if the Saudis were planning on buying Newcastle fans were up in it about it got blackballed or whatever by the rest of the Premier League clubs. They didn't want it to happen, but ultimately, if you've got these owners that are prepared to put the money in, it's very difficult to know what you can do to stop it. The issue comes when one of those owners says, right, I've had enough, and walks away and everything crumbles. But we will get one of those stories at some point down the line. It will happen at some point down the line. But when it does, that's kind of part and parcel. Nobody was kicking and screaming when some of the founding members of the Football League have, really fallen on really, really hard times. And some of the clubs that are now out of the Football League and have worked their way, dropped down the pyramid for whatever reason or completely gone bust, everyone's kind of got over that. It's okay. It's a story for a little while, but there'll be a really, I mean, take your club, the fall from grace for Leeds. Over a period of time, but you've come back. But you've come back up. Man City were down in the bottom tier of football not that long ago. But then come. The reality is that it's cyclical, isn't it? And sometimes a club will go bust and will be reincarnated. It's somewhere else. It's you look at MK Dons and Wimbledon. You look at what's happened in Manchester with the FC Manchester, because the fans got fed up with United. It's a cyclical thing, and it will all comes round eventually.
I'm just waiting for Gunners FC to be launched. It's only a matter of time.
Well, Arsenal are in a rebuilding situation. I think in Arteta they've got a good manager. What worries me, and I think I said it on the football show yesterday, we were talking about on Des, was how much time will they give him before, and that's not from the fans necessarily. I think it's the owner more than anything, that if they put money into they backed him, in what he's been able to spend this year. And let's not forget, they spent chunks of money. I mean, Pepe cost them what, 70 million or something like that.
Yeah, the owner's not going to be happy though with spending 50 million for Ben White, and it transpires that he can't head the ball, or he can't win a sort of an aerial battle, as it were.
Well,
that didn't reflect
I read
well.
an article a couple of weeks ago where a journalist was trying to suggest that the Ben White deal was a better deal than the Varane deal. And I must admit, I did kind of shake my head at it, kind of going, on what planet can you possibly think that's the case? Potentially, Ben White might become, potentially, but when they start talking about him as an England international, it's like, well, he's played a few minutes in a couple of the warm-up games for the Euros, and the only reason he got into the Euro squad was because Trent got injured. He never have even been in that squad, and he was in that. Why they even put him in that squad when they had a chance to put another player in? Because England certainly didn't need more defenders.
No.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre.
So, I told you earlier about an exclusive from Ryan, the TD at D2D.
Has he messaged you? Has he said it? Has he messaged going?
No.
I understand you're on the APAT show, Pete. So I've got a little bit of juicy gossip for you. I was talking to Rob this afternoon.
I was going to ask you guys, what's your plans in terms of making any plans for the future? You're going to wait until Dusk Till Dawn's going to be.
He's looking for a bit of quid pro quo, Lee. That's what he's looking for.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Bit of tit for tat.
I'll tell you what we can tell you is for the first time in 18 months, we are genuinely taking a break for a couple of weeks with the APAT show. That is 100%. This is the last one of season 2. And
is somebody on holiday, Lee? Is that what's really happening then?
Somebody is off for a Harry Potter experience in Wales, is my understanding of it. He's going to watch the last few Harry Potters on a Sunday night with the family. So we're gonna take a break for a couple of weeks from that, and then we'll be back at the beginning of September, hopefully with a little bit of news on where we think things are going to go. Yeah. Tom messaged us this week. He's desperate to have a chat to see where things are. Obviously, for Tom this week, living in Plymouth, it's been a bit of a other things going on kind of thing, to be honest with everything's happening down there in the past few days. But so we're looking to try and make some plans. I still don't believe that we'll do much this calendar year, simply from the fact that Grosvenor are throwing a lot of stuff out there at the moment. We want to see what Rob's going to do with Dusk Till Dawn, and before you know it, we are going to be into the whole World Series of Poker thing going on for a period of time, whether we're all watching from a distance or.
I was going to say, obviously you've been doing the your podcasts and things like that. So what's the feedback that you've had from people about that
regarding Vegas?
Yeah.
There's still genuinely a lot of positivity. Certainly from the Americans.
Yeah, I think the Americans are definitely going to go ahead, aren't they?
Don't have an issue. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, it's just whether we can travel out there.
It's just going to be whether the rest of the world are able to travel. As I say, Des put the clip up about with Brandon Shields, and we chatted to him, and I said, well, what would you do? He's planning on going for the whole of the series.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what about if we, if the restrictions haven't changed? He said, well, I've not really thought about it. He said, well, yeah, if I've got to go and do 2 weeks somewhere in advance, so be it. It's not a problem.
Cayman Islands.
Yeah, well, but for anybody that's doing the whole series, that's not a problem. Obviously, for a recreational player that might go out for 10 days or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, like you've got planned, Pete, well, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I can't do 2 weeks.
You just couldn't say, well, I'll go and have a couple of weeks in Mexico and then and then jump over the wall, could you? It's not really doable for you to do that. So the reality of it is and it's going to have to happen pretty quick that this is going to get changed, and I just don't see that happening. that all of a sudden you're going to find out, because when were you booked to travel, Pete? Last week in September?
Yeah, September the 27th.
I thought it was last.
Yeah.
So we are now on 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's 6 weeks. And I just don't believe that the American government are going to change. And not so much because of what's going on in this country at the moment, but the numbers are spiking in America. Yeah. They're not seeing the levels of hospitalization or that whatsoever, but they are seeing the numbers spike. Now they're happy to control it in the same way we are. It'll be interesting to see what happens after a full weekend of. I know the football league started the week before, but when you've got the really big stadiums filling out 30, 40, 50, 60,000, as to whether that has any impact on anything. And of course, in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, the schools go back in the UK, whether that has an impact on the numbers as to what's going on. We've still got, on average, 90 odd people dying every single day in this country from this pandemic. I mean, that should never be, just brushed under the carpet and we all got to, that's still a realization that there's, it's still out there and you can still catch it, and you can catch it if you've been double jabbed, and you can pass it on if you've been double jabbed. And so, you've got to keep doing the best you can. But I fingers crossed are that you'll be able to get out to Vegas, Pete. But if not, what would you do? Would you look to delay it until later in the World Series, or just turn around and go, do you know what? World Series of Poker 2022 is only going to be 8 months away, because I would like to think that come next May, June, it'll be back in its normal slot.
I think next year will be back in its normal slot. So I mean, my personal plans, if obviously I'm going to leave it to probably 2 weeks beforehand and make a decision then. But I've looked at a lot of the UK stuff. I was thinking about Malta, but because that's been pulled, that's not an option. So I'm probably looking at Coventry, Edinburgh, and Luton GUKPT if by chance I can't go. And then what I'll do is I'll speak to Virgin and get them to rebook my flights, but probably in February.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking was,
seems very sensible, Pete.
Yeah, do a couple of weeks. Yeah. Well, do like 10 days in February. Just go for that, and then look to play the World Series next year. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
I think it gets to the point where you kind of go, it's just not worth the as much as it's great to go. If I could go to Vegas tomorrow, I would love to go, partly to have a break and different scenery and play a bit of poker and just have a relax. And it's a great place to go and do that. But ultimately, I think the hoops you've got to jump through at the moment to do that, it just gets to the point in the planning that's required, and the fact that it can change.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that the American government next week say, right, we're all good to go now. And then in 3 or 4 weeks' time, the UK government says, right, USA's back on the whatever list now because their numbers are going through the roof, as has been found with Mexico is a perfect example. Was it last week or the week before, where Mexico all of a sudden was put back on a list, and people that had been gone out there traveling for a break were scuppered. And Carl Arger's been teetering on the brink and getting a number of hands through, but I've a feeling if it falls around to him, he will go all in. There he goes. It goes all in again. Yeah. That's pretty much what he's been doing, and he's absolutely dominated by Dimitri this time. And Dimitri's got the flush draw as well. And finally, we lose Carl Arger.
I don't know how he survived that long, Lee. I
know. No, it was pretty kamikaze. Are you sure he's not a 75-year-old that was playing poker with Pete not that long ago? Yeah. He might have been that. So we're now heads up, even stacks here, Pete. Yeah. So Dimitri and David. David's from Canada and Dimitri's from Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice on the leaderboard, there's quite a few people that have, got up to level 2 or level 3 on steps that I've never heard of. But it's
some do. Yeah, well, what's really weird is you get some which do, and I don't know them other than I know that they play and I record the results every night. But they're playing regularly, and so they get their tickets like everybody else because they're registered up on APAT.com, which is anyone can do that. You just need to go and register your membership with us. All we need is say is a name and an email address. so we can get you registered up, which means any added value then, whether it be medals in our championship weekend or any added value tickets that we do for leaderboards, you'll then be able to collect those. But yeah, it's nice to see them playing just on a regular basis. Some of them, Pete, just play. You'll just see them playing the Omaha games, or you'll just see them playing the knockouts, and they're quite particular about what they'll play, which is I find fascinating. That there are some players that that's all they'll play. They're not in to play a week's worth of APAT. They will come in and just pick up the variants that suit their game.
Yeah. I mean, from a personal point of view, I tend to always play the PL08 because that's my preferred game, obviously. But I do like the KOs as well, the PKOs.
They're really popular, aren't they?
Yeah.
I get it as well, because it's like the one that you play, the WPT opener that you played earlier on. You had a decent run, but you weren't in the cash, but you'd bust a few people along the way, which means you've come out of that, pretty much break even.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad situation to be in, is it?
No.
And if there's a bunch of players similar to you, not made the money, but have actually had a couple of bounties and have therefore done okay, it's keeping the money circulating around the poker community a bit more widespread than it just all going up top.
Yeah.
It's definitely a nicer way to look at it. So you can't be too disappointed with yesterday's football, Pete. Honestly, don't worry. It's first game of the season. They'll be fine. Leeds are the type of team that will. Yeah, they're not going to play any different. He's got them set up the way he wants to have them set up, and so you'll have games where you'll do three. You'll put teams away by 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I mean, last season we probably finished higher than I would have expected to, and I thought we'd be in a bit of a relegation battle, but we were obviously quite comfortable. But this season does worry me a little bit because, well, from a personal point of view, Leeds fans hate Man United, and so to lose that first game, that's a bit of a slap in the face really, and to lose so heavily 5-1.
Yeah, he was 6-2. It was 6-2 the previous season.
Yeah,
it's a slight improvement.
Yeah, and to be fair,
he scored more.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, once United made their substitutions later on, in the 60th, 67th minute or 70th minute, they took their foot off the gas. Really, I think if they'd really wanted to, I think they could have. I mean, what I thought was disappointing yesterday, for the Leeds point of view, I didn't feel Bamford got a kick, and he came off, and he didn't seem overly bothered about it. It was just, it just was, wasn't really at the races, and you did have a couple of other chances, really, which you should have put away. We certainly weren't super tight at the back, so you could have easily nicked another 1 or 2. I
did actually bet on Fernandes to score and Man United to win 3-1. So it wasn't a complete disaster.
Happy days. Well, I won my first. I'm in a head-to-head fantasy league this year, so I picked up my first win in match day 1 because I had Fernandes as my captain for the so sweet. Quite happy with that. Although I wasn't the top scorer in the league, I was about 5th of the 20. But I'm quite happy to get 3 points on the table early doors. Certainly don't want to be last. I think Gaz Howard's going to end up last, so that'll be all right. So
he usually finishes second, didn't he?
Yeah, not in this. I don't think he's quite as skillful at fantasy football as he is at poker.
All right.
Definitely not. I think that's the case. Talking about them, so I saw that Brian and the Black Country Poker Club guys have got their summer deep stack coming up soon. So they've got their new venue at
great news
up in the Midlands. So and really nice to see that they're all getting back together to play a bit of poker. So I hope that goes well for them. It's nice to see them back playing. So.
Yeah. Like I say, going up to London and travelling down to Portsmouth and even going to the Hippodrome, it was really good to see a lot of people, and everyone was really, really sort of friendly and happy to see each other and stuff.
Do you know I've never played at the Hippodrome? I really should, just to it looks such a nice venue and looks pretty.
I think the good thing about that, well, same with the Empire, is that. Obviously, if you do get a break and you get a dinner break, you can just go into Chinatown and go grab some food there, and it's just nice to sort of pop outside.
Do you know I've never played at the Empire either?
No,
I played at the old what was the one that used to be
the Sportsman.
The Fox Club.
Oh, the Fox.
Oh yeah, the Fox.
Shaftesbury
That
Avenue, wasn't it?
was in Chinatown as well on Shaftesbury Avenue.
Yeah, that was a nice. Shame that whatever happened to that, because that was such a good poker room, and it felt like it was specifically for poker. I don't know whether it then got turned into a casino. Who owned? Was it? Did Genting used to own it?
I think they have something to do.
Did they buy? Was it an independent at one point, and then they bought it out, and then they turned it into a
slot
casino?
machines in there though.
Yeah.
They had like a bank of slot machines.
Yeah, initially it was one of those private poker clubs, a bit like
that's what I thought,
Shot and others, Loose Cannons, that popped up in London. Really nice clubs that were in a grey sort of space, as it were. And as things tightened, I think they all took advantage of doing what they could with their businesses before it got really tough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you don't see many of those now. I mean, the kind of proper just poker focused. I mean, it was really when Rob was taking the casino games back out of Dusk Till Dawn. It felt that felt a good thing to do. But there's not many venues which are solely poker related. It's
there we go.
And that is it done, is it? Dimitri's done it. Dmitry Klotchek from Russia is going to pick up the win. And as Pete was alluding to earlier on, winning that little heads up at the end there. So they both pocketed $82 for out of the main prize pool. But Dimitri scoops a total of $112 in bounties in the end. David picking up 48. So it's a huge difference there. It's about $70 more dollars for Dimitri. But Dimitri ends up winning that one. David Pink finishes in second, and Karl Lager from Sweden is in third. And so with all of that, Des, I can confirm that our guest has only gone and topped the leaderboard for the week.
Nice. Congrats, Pete. Well done.
Very well done to Pete. He's on step 2, so cheap date for us.
Yeah,
that's nice and easy, but he's going to pick up three $11 tickets. Tony G finished in second in the end. He'll pick up a couple of
Tony.
Tickets. Whippersnapper Brendan Byrne finished in third with three cashes this week. He's on step 4 actually, so two $33 tickets for Brendan. Aaron Swaziland finished in 4th. He picks up 2 tickets as well. And Konstantin Chersin from Russia, 4 cashes this week for him. He picks up 2 tickets as well. Other notables in the top 20, Matty Ogilvie from Canada. He was on step 2, so he picks up a ticket and we'll move up to step 3 next week. And that pesky cheap date Gordon MacArthur is 14th in the leaderboard. 3 cashes this week for GMAC. He was on step 4, so he's going to pick up a $33 ticket, and he's going to move up to that elusive step. I think he's going to be the only one. Oh, Brendan will as well. So I think it could be him and Brendan.
Well done, boys.
Because Tony Ross wasn't in the top 20 this week, so he's going to drop out and drop down to step 4. And Eddie wasn't in the top 20 either. He was on step 5 this week. So we've dodged Eddie and Tony Ross this week.
I can dodge bullets, baby. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I think, guys, we've reached a natural end to our show. It just leaves us to say big thank you to everybody who's played APAT this week. And we'll play APAT next week and for the week afterwards. As Lee mentioned earlier, I don't think we're going to be around for the next 2 weekends. I think it might be.
I think it's going to be 2 weekends. Don't worry though. I will
holidays and stuff like that.
I will continue to update the leaderboard ladders, and all we'll do on a Sunday night is I'll pop up in the Facebook group and let you know the results, so everybody knows what's going on.
Fantastic. Which just leaves me to say a big thank you to Peter for joining us tonight. It was lovely to have you on, Peter, and a deep run in the PLO as well. So thanks very much for that, my friend. And
pleasure.
Yeah, until the next time, right? Season 3, we're going to be booking you in again pretty early on the APAT show, I'm pretty sure. Okay, anything else, Lee, or are we done?
We are done. If anybody needs anything, we're in the Facebook group, so just message us or let us know, and we will get back to you. But we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Toot sweet. Brilliant. Okay. Night, guys. Have a great week. Ciao.